Hello guys, good evening. Today is January 3rd. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. Well guys, another bearish day in the markets, but we were on the right side most of the day. Most of the indices were chopping in the morning, and we'll talk about all those. So let's so for those who are new and who are new to my YouTube or who do not know me, these are my daily trade recaps from my community. Any of my guidance, my trades, or any of the other trades being taken in the community, or any other ideas that we share in the community or I share on Twitter. So I recap them every day, and whatever learnings we try to find every day, we learn from our mistakes, our winners, our losers, and we try to try to share them with you. So before I start, every day I wake up 1 hour before the market opens. I go through all the news sources, analyst upgrades, downgrades. I create my watch list, I create my levels, and I share with my community to get ready for the trading day. What you're seeing here are the levels for today. The reason I have these levels here, because these levels are very important. I just want you guys to note these levels, and then when we'll go to our individual trades, you will see how a lot of these levels helped us with the trades, right? If I give you the example of Amazon, once it broke 150, it gave us a decent morning trade. And similarly, if I talk about IWM, on that, once IWM broke that when IWM broke that 196.88, faded. So just take a look, and then when we'll go to individual trades, we'll come back to these levels as well and see how they performed. And these were all the morning watch lists, and this was the watch list. Today there was the main play that played out of the morning watch list news was J&J, which had some news, and there was one loser, PSTG. I did not touch anything else except the AMLX idea, which we will talk about it. There was idea on Zscaler, which did not work either, so we'll discuss. So that was our watch list, and mainly our focus was on the marketplace. And also the plan for today was, like I shared, the VIX plan was 1390 and 14 levels on the VIX, which we will talk about end of the day when VIX bounced, and how the market was short there. SPY overall, guys, today was a very tight action, up down, and before the end of the day fade. Very low ATR, as you see. The ATR was 68% and 70% on SPY, and 68% on QQQ. It looks like there was a lot of ATR, but it ideally was in a range. You can, if I draw, I can easily draw this range bound action. I can easily draw this, so I don't call this as a trend. Of course, we got some good trades, under the fades. So, we'll talk about it. But anyways, I'll go into detail when I get there. Let's start. So guys, first we're going to look at our morning trades on a lot of these names which were, bouncing right at open. So these we have every day. We have these marketplace, Microsoft, Google, Amazon on our list, and we play them every day. So this morning, right at open, even though SPY was weak, and some of them were breaking out, some of them were pushing over the pivots. So let's start with let's look at, so I want to look at Microsoft, Nvidia, and Amazon. So first of all, let's look at Microsoft here. So what was Microsoft doing? So Microsoft turned bullish over the clouds. What was my pivots on Microsoft? 374, right? And the support was 367. So the pivot's support was 367. So it held that 367 support, and it turned over the clouds. So what that means is, when it holds this 374 support, that's your level to risk and to bounce, right? And looking at the other pivots which were little further away, 374, 376, 465, So at that point of time, you use this EMA cloud push to scalp them long, right? So it when it pivots over this level, and that's when it pushes over um, into the 10 a.m. right? So I was on voice, I show those, and they were all the clouds. So this was over the clouds. Apple was also pushing over the clouds, and there was just a scalp, not like an A plus trade, maybe a B trade. So that we were talking about those scalps on Microsoft and Apple. And not only that, let's look at so the point is, if you were able to get in at the open when they turned bullish over the clouds, I said, you could easy scalp. There was, even if you were late, there was still a $2 scalp when I mentioned it 9:33. And of course, this is the morning trade, 10 a.m. trade, and I'll talk about it. And other one was Amazon. So Amazon was also one which was bullish, at the open. So let's see, 150 was the pivot, right? So what was the pivot? So pivot I gave was 150 resistance pivot. So Amazon 150 pivot, it pushed, and and then it dipped. I talked about the long right at open, but when it dipped as well, it dipped here, and then I said long versus 149. So this dip is what I was talking about. And then it pushed, right? So it pushed like it gave you like a dollar, right? It's very liquid stock. Dollar is more than enough. Good move on the options. So this dip, and it got bought, and then it pushed, right? So, and it was okay. It was pushing first 20 minutes, like I'm talking here. It was 150, and but then we were coming into 10 a.m. Today there was data, macro data. So we always take profits into 10 a.m. The further you buy on this opening trade, the more is your risk. If you are just buying here then that's a problem, because your risk is too much, right? So I keep talking about it. Like in the morning trades, you can't go full size or crazy. Either you are in right close to the risk level, or you're not even in, right? So, and same for Nvidia. Let's look at Nvidia, right? So Nvidia, what did Nvidia do? Even Nvidia at the open, Nvidia pushed over the clouds as well, right? Nvidia pushed from 473 to 481. So let's see what I talked about Nvidia. I said what was the Nvidia pivot? So Nvidia pivots, there were support was 472.59, then 477. But that pivot is, the pivot was 477 was right here. That was right over the clouds. And then when it pushed over that, then I said you can scalp it. I was on the voice into 10 a.m. and it was a decent push. But the problem today was, as I was talking on the voice, market was bearish. So I was not confident about all these scalps that we were doing at open, right? Even Nvidia, if you added a time and you were out by closer to 10 a.m., then that was fine, because this was not the day to think that's gonna go crazy, because market was bearish, right? SPY was bearish, all under the clouds. That's why I look at everything. I just don't blind myself with one thing. And look at this, right? QQQ was rejecting, tried to push, rejecting, and that's when QQQ rejected, then the market failed, right? And then we came into 10 a.m. That was the data. So today it was either you don't trade, or when you trade close to the risk levels, and get out close to the 10 a.m. So it's very important to understand how to trade at open. I have a detailed webinar in my community to trade at open, so must view it. But just wanted to recap these morning scalps. Now we'll go to our main other trades, the big ones. All right, guys. Now we're gonna look at the Lilly had a news. It was on our watch list. So the plan on Lilly was, Lilly was breaking out of this nice level up here, and the plan was simple, right? It was a psychological breakout of 600 level. That was Lilly, and the plan, as you see my guidance here, was simple: to trade versus 600, right? Or 495. So as you see, right at open it started to push, and in first 2 minutes I gave the plan, and then I longed it. And as I said, I gave you a plan, and then you decide where you want to get entry and long it. I had some shares, and and I was risking the $600, $3-4, and then I had some options. I had 6 10s, and I encourage everyone to find what they want to trade. If they have an option, what the strikes. If somebody asks me, I let them know. But this was the plan. 6 10s was what I was trading with some shares, and there were some people panicking on this 10 a.m. pullback. People are like, oh, is it done? Why is it done? It's still holding 10 a.m. trend. There is no reason to panic. As long as the 10-minute hold, what did I say? So I gave the target 613 to everyone, and then I said hold as long as the trend holds, right? And then 610 calls went to $8 from $2. Like if you invested $2,000, they became $8,000. Of course, you scale out on the way, but still, even if you were scaling out, it was still a more than 150% trade. And I did say, like, I was talking about even at 130, I said roll into the further calls, take some 620 calls next week or something like that. And because it's still holding the trend. At the end of the day, it hit 1619.84. It's almost a $15 per share profit from since I started my guidance on it. So that's why that was our Lily big winner. Lily is not done yet, actually. I have some next weeks, my rolls from next weeks. If we break this tomorrow, we're going to push higher. So Lily is still there on the watch. So I'm going to talk about Tesla. We talk about Tesla every day, so Tesla has been so good because once it finds the trend, it stays in that trend. So, we don't care if it goes up or down, of course, we had good swing as well, but once it's ready for the swing, we will swing it as well. We just follow the trend. So let's see, let's look at my Tesla 1 second here. Yeah, hopefully you can read this commentary. I will, I'm trying to put all the comments I had. Maybe I'll just take a screenshot for you guys. I'll show you. So talking about Tesla, I'm just going to take a screenshot so you can read. So as soon as Tesla opens, right, what was my pivot? What did the pivot I gave everyone? The pivot was, support pivot was 243.87, 245, and 242.81. 245 was a level from yesterday, right? So 243.85, this is where it gives up. And that's when I know it's no longer a long, it's a short. It's under EMA clouds, 3450, check, right? Breaking pre-market lows, check. No long, check. Short, yes. So I said do not long heavy, only short scalps, no longs. And I was on voice, I was giving my target. I said cover some 240s, and next target was 138s, and sorry, it was 238. So that was my typo there, but we did hit 238 target. Next target was 235, and you see not a single time I was talking about going long there, right? We had the 240 was hit 200%. It was not till it hit 236 that it started to make higher lows. Remember, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and that's when it starts to show you a reversal setup. Mind you, it's a B minus or C minus reversal. It's still bearish, but as you know that it's time for you to cover your shorts. So the short from 243.80 area all the way to 236, that was almost 7-8 points short, and options were over 100% on the puts. Now let us look at how this reversal happened and how Win came in, and he talked about it, and what did I say about it. So then Win comes in, he sees that, so his specialty, right? Win is a seasoned trader, and he wanted to long it as a C minus, B minus, because he had a defined risk, right? He takes a position at 237, that's fine. He has 80-90 cent risk, maybe $1 risk. He don't care because there's more upside than the risk. And he said B minus setup, and then then it started to recover, and as it starts to recover, it pushes higher, from 238, 7s, 38s, it pushes all the way to 240s. Then I come in, I see this higher lows. I tell everyone that it's still a B minus over, but 240 is what it needs to clear. And then 240 clears, then it goes to 241.31. So, and then finally it dips, you get out here. If you are at it here, you can still hold because still at higher low, higher low, higher low. And then it pushes down. You have to get out here, unless of course you want to wait for the 3450 push, but then it finally rejects 3450 and then it fades. So you see how we shorted, and of course it was a B minus setup. So what is a B minus setup? Low, high risk, low probability, low position trade against the trend, which I don't usually do, but yes, if there is a setup, Win is pretty good with these setups, right? So he knows his tested setups, but not for everyone, because everybody tries to find the dip. Win is not trying to find the dip. He reads the price action, higher lows, and that's when he gets in. So yeah, let's go to the next. So guys, MRNA. So MRNA was a day 2 setup, and day 2 setup doesn't necessarily mean it has to go the same way. Day 2 setups can be bearish or the other side as well. So I was watching MRNA and it was under the clouds right at open, and I said bounce. If bounces, you have to short. And the risk, what was the risk if you want to short? Frankly, 3450 EMA clouds or this area, this 113 area from yesterday, that was the risk, right? And then I talked about this short right at open, right, 931, and it did fade from open, from 111s to 108, and then of course I said good short, more room downside, but wait for the bounce, right? So always wait for the bounce. So it pushed to 512 EMS, failed, and then it started to show higher lows. At this time you need to be cautious. Either you exit or reduce your size or wait for a better entry, and that's what happened. It squeezed, hit the 3450, still under the risk level, faded, hit the 3450, faded, hit the 3450, faded. It was not a perfect trade, guys, but if you had a good entry, you had a good scalps there. So not a bad idea there today. So today, guys, on our news board was talking about the China news all day. So you see the China stocks were like Baidu and Baba. So they were strong today, this morning. There were Chinese names were higher, and Win was talking about Chinese names as well, PDF and all that. I noticed the strength as well, and I like two names, Baidu. I usually don't like the range on Baba, so but I avoided. But I personally traded Baidu, but you could get any of those Chinese tickers along on a pullback. So I talked about China names right at open. We talked about in first 20 minutes. And what did Baidu do? Baidu, we talked about it at 958. Pullback, held pullback, went on to run from that 115 pullback to 118. Right? What did JD do? Right? So JD pulled back. That's fine. You either exit here or you wait, and then you enter on the reclaim. I mean, if I look back, JD was not the best example for, because I don't like that range. I usually don't trade that. So I usually trade Baidu. And talking about PDD, so PDD was a big win because we have been flagging the unusual option flow on PDD for last few days, right? So you can see there. Let me find you PDD. So we, 2.5 million calls on January 2nd. They were coming on PDD, and we know it was on top of it, right? PDD flow every day. Every day PDD had a flow, right? So every day PDD had a flow. So we know got it, and then look at it what PDD did today, right? Went on to make crazy moves. So big winners on Chinese names, even Baba was big winner, right? It's all about trying to find those strong names that you can trade, and we found those China plays earlier, very early. So that was good. Guys, quick recap on coin. So coin was basically what we were looking at. Coin was we were looking at coin in the morning was bearish, right? So most bearish. No, I didn't have any interest there. I didn't trade, but people were trading. If I was giving an idea, I would have probably given you this 144 as a risk level, right? So that's what I said. 146, 144, B minus, So that's a B minus long. So if you're trading, that's fine. But what I liked was when it pushed over this EMA clouds, and then that's where you could scalp some, risking this 150. It went to 156, and when it dipped back and broke, you have to get out right here at 153. So just a quick recap. And tomorrow we watch coin, because if it reclaims 156, then the coin will be on the rewatch tomorrow. So we will keep an eye. So let's go to the next one. Just a quick look at Lulu. So what was Lulu doing today? It was a trading floor call on Lulu versus 500. It was heavy, and it was breaking that 500 level, and just quick scalp from 500 to 496, then again from 500 to 497, 498, then again from 500 to 497, right? So it was all day scalps from that 500, and it was mostly the people on the floor. Kyle was on top of it again, and just the scalps. Problem was Lulu is spready. There's not much volume, so you can size, but the setup was still there. So I'm going to talk about this PSTG. I would try to bounce it from EMA clouds. It's a simple, nothing much to cover here. Try to bounce this. I got in, and then it failed, and I got out. Took a quick loss, 20-30 cents, nothing much. Actually, I started a little earlier. So did work, moved on. So loser today. So another one was loser today was Zscaler. Zscaler had an upgrade, and when it moved over the clouds, I was talking about it, and I took a position. It pushed to 215. The mistake I did was I didn't really take profit or anything, because I was expecting a bigger move with quite a range. I didn't realize that it's a 20 EMA on daily. That's what it's rejecting. And then it pulled back, then I got out. Not a big loss. Idly, I talked about it 941, right here I was talking about it. And if you were fast enough, you made little couple of dollars on Zscaler. If you were, like me, then you were, so let's just call it, scratch. So one that really kind of worked out was AMLX. This is a more of AMLX is it's from our bio tracker. It's from our long-term bio play, and Daniel was on top of AMLX since morning. I gave an idea that watch the pullbacks to the clouds, and and you look at it 3450, 3450, and it bounced at end of the day into 1655 and still closing over 3450. So there was a decent idea there as well, if you got it. So guys, I'm going to quickly cover about IWM weakness today. So IWM, what was happening was yields. My question was why was IWM weak today? Because yields been going up, guys. When yields go up, IWM, solar, they all take a hit. I want you guys to take a look at my levels that I provided today on IWM. So my support level was 196, 196.61. When pivots tend to break, the stock tends to move into that direction, right? So that is a pivot, right? So 196, 196.61, resistance 198.40. Never even went over there. So 196.61. So this area, you see, it tries to go over 512 EMAs and it pulls back. If you're trying to short, you wait for this bounce, right? And even this bounce swipe came, buyer, 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 you wait. And then you hit on the top versus the 3450 EMA clouds. And once it broke the pivot I gave, right, 196, look what happened. Broke, reclaimed. Broke, reclaimed. Broke, reclaimed. Last time it broke, never reclaimed. So this becomes another pivot, guys, 195.38. So just a quick review of IWM. So just wanted to talk about that. And with that, we'll close today's recap. Guys, patience on swings. The time of swing will come. It's not right now. So anyways, guys, thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow. And those of you who are getting some DMs, our Christmas promo is closed, but if you still want some discounts, just email our admins. They will get you in. Do not come for alerts, guys. Do not. I'm telling you beforehand. No alerts, but if you want a great community to trade and learn and have some solid trading ideas, please join. All right, guys, thank you so much. Bye bye.